I'm the Mountain, and this is the Game of Thrones show on Off the Ball.
You're welcome along to Off the Ball. It's a brand new Game of Thrones show brought to you by Discover Northern Ireland, and Season 8 is just around the corner. We're going to be bringing you an episode every week before the final ever season, getting pretty emotional here, of Game of Thrones kicks off. We're going to do one today for the next half an hour or so, and we're going to do one next week when we go through a character by character breakdown of where everybody is in Westeros and how we think they're going to fare. Are they going to live? Are they going to die? Well, we're going to be discussing that over the next couple of days. Andy and Tommy, you're very welcome.
Owen, Andy, how are we?
Good.
We're going to get into all the conspiracy theories, spoilers everywhere, I should say, over the course of the next half an hour or so. We are going to get into what we think is going to happen in the next season, and there's only one way to start. It is a trailer.
I know death. He's got many faces. I look forward to seeing this one.
I didn't notice the goal close the first time around. Will you point them out?
These guys
Who's that?
This guy's called Harry Strickland. He's
appearing in episode 1.
He's the leader of the Golden Company.
Okay.
Where you belong.
Cersei looking happy. This is the big arrival of Winterfell, and it's kind of a mirror of the first ever episode of Game of Thrones where Bran was staring out the window at Robert
Coming in. Yeah. The fleet coming in, or the Lannisters.
Doesn't stop. Doesn't feel.
Some say that they've edited this and that these scenes of the dragons flying will be Jon and Daenerys flying the dragons.
That's key.
That they've been digitally removed.
Sansa, that's a fierce look right there.
Kind of emotional sitting here thinking that this is the last time we're going to speculate about what's going to happen over the course of a few hours of television over the next couple of weeks.
I feel like I'm just been in a dressing room before a championship match and the manager's giving a team talk. I'm ready to go here, lads.
It's not long now.
You've been watching it all back.
Yeah, I started watching it back. My girlfriend had never watched it before, and I knew we were going to be doing this. And I was like, you're going to have to watch it because there's going to be nothing else that I'm going to be doing during April. So we started watching it back ages ago, watched it on DVD. And then we're only bloody season 4, episode 1. So like a lot of catching up to do now before the end. Like so.
Really, time is ticking.
I'll be leaving her behind. I think. I think I'll be leaving Sheahan behind you.
I have to crunch it.
But it's been an experience watching it back because like I know I'm on her case a lot saying, "Are you watching this? Are you watching this?" You know, because it's intense. But I actually think
she's never seen it, so
never seen it, never read a book, was never into it.
You're at what, season 4?
Season 4, episode 1. So we've just come off the back of the Red Wedding.
Okay, how was her reaction?
Oh, gory. I think I had my eyes covered for a bit of it as well. Jesus, it was worse than I remembered it.
That's the big one, isn't it? Because you're so invested in
Robb.
Yeah, in Robb Stark.
You think you're invested in Robb Stark. You think you are.
Once he's gone, you're like, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Like, you know.
I think that's not true, is it? I'm still suffering.
Are you?
I rewatched it. My wife had never watched it, and she was pregnant at the time. I completely forgot that
the scene.
Rob's wife Talisa was pregnant during that, and she was like, "Why would you make me watch that?"
I know it's horrific, and it's like I'm just at the stage now where you're encountering Ramsay Bolton, and like it's like. I'm like asking Sheahan, like, what do you make of this guy? I'm not really giving it away, like I'm not giving any spoilers, like, but it's like you're trying to gauge what the reactions are to these people, like.
And what does she think of Ramsay Bolton right now?
The phrase for a lot of them is dirty article that I'm getting. Dirty article. That's it for Tyrion as well. You're a couple of episodes away from the Purple Wedding. Yeah.
Joffrey.
Yeah. I'm still a bit away from that.
That's a shocker.
Yeah. There's a couple of shockers to come. So like so the Red Wedding, Ramsay has just come into the scene, and Jamie has just started kind of.
You're
starting to feel empathy towards Jamie Lannister for the first time. It's like, it's a strange thing. And even watching it back was a strange thing. Because I know for a fact when I first watched Game of Thrones back in 2011, 12, 13, when I was first watching it, I wasn't really getting it. I wasn't really getting what was going on. I don't know if everyone was like that.
You see, there's a lot in the early episodes, a lot of exposition, because they're trying to tell the story of the first episode, but also trying to fill you in on
everything,
on the history, on the backstories of these characters, and of the law of the land. And sometimes you kind of, because even when we talk about like the journey of this, like I watched that whenever it was debuted, I was living in Detroit, and I remember this show came on HBO, like me and my brother got it, never heard of Game of Thrones. Me and my brother just started getting into it. I was like, this is kind of good, getting into all of that stuff, that kind of history and stuff, kind of goes over your head a little bit. Goes over your head, and then it wasn't until later that I read the books and then got deeper and deeper into it. That and you fills out more.
It all triggers.
Yeah, so I think for anybody watching the first season, especially with all that, them trying to get you into it, it's tough to actually grasp the whole story.
Watching it back was a great decision, because I understand it even more now watching it back.
Yeah, the second one's key.
Oh, it's so important.
I don't think it's a tough thing for the show to grasp the people, though. I think it's tough for the people to grasp what's actually going on, but in terms of excitement, it happens straight away. Like Bran getting thrown out of the window at the end of episode 1, you're like, immediately, this is different. This is very different.
The incest as well.
Yeah, that's
and
different to most television shows.
I know we're talking about character arcs, but like us as viewers, our arcs, like when you saw Jaime and Cersei, and you're like, what the hell? Like, that's their brothers and sisters. Now you're like, Jon and Daenerys, their aunt and nephew, and we're like, yeah, go on,
exactly. We're encountering like topics that we haven't seen before, and you're watching them with somebody, and you're like, how am I supposed to react to this as you're watching it with somebody else?
It's a bit like, the thing about it is that it was such a shocker to see, Ned Stark get killed, and then because that never happened where like this is the main guy, he's like the noble,
the heart of the show,
and the well-known actor, like he's such a big star, he's the man who's gonna come for the series. Then he's gone.
Kind of just set us up, didn't it?
Yeah, but then it's been done so much by other shows since, where they kill off a relatively famous person within the show early on. It's kind of been diluted, but we've lacked a few big deaths in the last season. I don't know if they've been as surprising, as shocking. There's kind of like a lot of the big characters kind of have plot armor now, where they're kind of protected by their place in the show, their importance to the story, and also the show surpassing the books. They don't really know where these characters finish up in the books, and so there's been a big stall really since season 5. I'd say there's been a big stall in the development. So like 6 and 7, there hasn't been it's kind of been stalling. Like things have been playing out. I know, like Daenerys arrived in Westeros and different things happened. Jon came back to life, but they've kind of been at the standstill in their development, but it's going to come to a head now.
Yeah.
Your point is interesting about the fact that there was no big deaths in the last season, which is true.
Well, we had the biggest one was Littlefinger.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like,
is that it?
It just went there. And Stannis, the season before, Stannis Baratheon, like both of those are still alive and well in the books, and still huge players, but
I do wonder if like the audience, like as you said there, is that it? That you say we become conditioned to thinking, well, it's all fine for Jon and Daenerys to be together after what we've seen earlier on. We've also been conditioned that way to think about murder and death in the thing, where it's like, give us more. We want to be heartbroken.
Well, did anybody even bat an eyelid when Ramsay killed his mother-in-law, who was pregnant with the baby?
Yeah, nobody did. We've become monsters.
We're used to seeing it, You're just expecting it.
We've become horrible people watching Game of Thrones. The more we've got sucked into this world,
I know,
we've become horrible people. Like, we've gone on graphs, just like characters have got. Like, Jaime may become a nice guy. Me watching Game of Thrones, I've become a monster.
But I think that's the beauty of it, though. Isn't Game of Thrones just presenting you with a mirror? Like, it's like what people are like. In Game of Thrones, you've got people who are really, really good, but they're capable of doing really bad things. And you've got people who seem really, really bad, but then all of a sudden they're capable of doing something that saves everybody. So, like,
what I want to know is, when we talk about character arcs, are we done with the undulations in the graphs? Have we seen the last of the ups and downs? So Jaime was a significant one. I think Tyrion was a relatively significant one. I think Arya and Sansa have both had significant graphs in terms of how much you're enamoured towards the character.
Sansa's finally now at the end, she's kind of found some authority where they just beat the hell out of her for like 6 or 7 seasons.
I felt so sorry for her. You were like, what's she doing?
All the time, and like between she's being manipulated and just like treated badly from Joffrey. Then she was forced to marry Tyrion. Then she kind of finally gets away. She's with Littlefinger. Then she's pushed into marrying Ramsay, and it's just like, come on, we've done this. But now finally she's kind of come strong in the end, and it will be good to see her kind of have some authority, and I think her endgame, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
Well, let's talk about that now. Like, when you say some authority, do you mean she's going to be the dominant person, or even, say, on a lesser level, the dominant woman in the North? Because
some authority
we know who she's about to meet.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, Daenerys coming. I think that will undermine Jon, or weaken Jon in some sense, in the eyes of the Northerners, because he's kneeled down to Daenerys. He's bent the knee to Daenerys, and now she was the one who's always kind of championed the North. I don't know. I guess she's been in there in his stead and has done a reasonably good job. You had those scenes of her governing in season 7 where she was making sure they had enough storage for the winter and preparing for winter. So I don't know, especially now if it becomes news that Jon's a Targaryen, how does that play out?
How quickly does that get out? That's coming out in the first episode, isn't it?
I think so.
Well, we're going to talk about this.
Well, I think what might happen is that Jon and Daenerys being in love is going to come out very, very soon.
I think it's going to be them arriving together the way it is. Yeah, I think it's from the trailer. It looks like they're going to play that out. They're not going to make any. They're not going to hide it in any way.
Who's got the information that incest is going on? Tyrion.
Bran.
And Bran.
And Sam. And Gilly.
And Gilly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They discovered the book that Rhaegar's marriage was annulled.
There's a nice little army of people who can completely change the politics of the landscape very, very quickly. Because I think when you talk about...
Let's talk about character arcs. Gilly, a wildling, comes out, learns how to read, learns how to be a mother, goes to the city and discovers Jon's parentage.
Yeah.
Not his parentage, but that he's actually legitimized.
Yeah. The last line from Bran in the last season was, he's never been a bastard, he's the heir to the Iron Throne. So that was what we were left with as the sex scene was happening between Jon and his auntie. Yeah.
Which is interesting. Like, Gilly's interesting, like, from Wildling to Meister, basically, is how her arc has gone. And, like, you talk about how the people in the North will have a lot of disdain for Jon for the way he bent the knee. But the person who completely personifies the North, I think, at the moment, is actually Sansa Stark. When she knows this, which will be immediate, she will absolutely despise Jon.
I agree with you.
For bending the knee. The relationship between Sansa and Jon is going to be very different to the old relationship between Sansa and Jon. And I do wonder if the Arya and Jon relationship, because let's face it, they're going to meet once again. And I think that's a reunion that we've all wanted to see for 7 seasons now. That might be a cold one as well.
Well, Arya's cold anyway now, isn't she?
Well, that's the thing.
Between her and Bran, it's like...
faceless, soulless.
The actors, some of the choices the actors just make, I don't know who's directing them or what, if they've been told to play this way, but,
they do feel...
Bran was a savage, straight away, I saw you on your wedding night to Ramsay. You look so beautiful. Just straight away, the first thing he said to Sansa, reminding her of that horrific night. So I don't know. In place of personality, he's become...
I agree with you. Sansa is now she kind of embodies the spirit of her dad in the first season.
And all this stuff, and all this stuff is irrelevant now because all this kind of political manoeuvring and posturing, the White Walkers are upon them, they've breached the wall and they're coming down, and that's the other great thing about this show, because you're watching these episodes and look what he did, and you wouldn't expect that. All of a sudden there's this army of zombies coming up in the night. No one's even paying attention to them,
Yeah.
But I guess they're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Is our relationship with them going to change? The White Walkers? Is the Night King going to become humanised in some way?
It's hard, it's hard to know. Now, the actor who plays the Night King, he has, in a recent interview, said that he has a target, that there's someone he wants to kill, which is interesting. Because up to this point, we know nothing about them. We know nothing about them at all. All we know is that they're set on destruction. But what are their motives? Why have they come back after so many thousands of years? what do they want? We don't really know. It's 7 seasons now, and we know nothing about them.
You're talking specifically about who do they want to kill, like that.
Yeah, but what's their main goal? What's their main goal? What's like? It's hard to know. Like,
it's just a kill. How are they going to have a character arc where we're going to feel sorry for them?
Well, that's what I'm
missing
asking.
Something here.
It seems like such a ridiculous thing to say, but
we will have to find out more about them, because it's the massive elephant in the room, but in the castle, whatever. Because they've been not teasing us, but giving us little glimpses. You know, turning the Craster's babies into White Walkers. There's one idea that he's coming for Sam and Gilly's baby, because that was promised to him. You know, that Craster was sacrificing his sons to the White Walkers, and they took that one from him. So maybe he's coming for the baby, but it seems to be a lot more than that. You know, it seems to be a lot more. Where there's bit like the White Walkers were around years ago, prehistory in the Game of Thrones world, and there was a pact between them and the Children of the Forest and the First Men. So maybe that pact's been broken, but it's...
Well, they were created by the Children.
But like, see, we had, with this theory where Bran is the Night King.
You said it's nonsense.
It could still be, because the actor who... It is the actual actor who plays the Night King now. Vladimir... I can't think of his surname, sounds Eastern European, but he looks a bit like Bran facially.
So he
is maybe he's not seen standing. He's just pinned up against a tree with his mouth tied, and maybe he's saying, "I'm from the futures. Don't create me, because this will cause trouble. This will be the end of the Children of the Forest in the future."
Yeah.
That's like, would you be disappointed with that ending if it turns out it's a big time loop and that Bran goes back in time to stop the creation of the Night King, tell the Children of the Forest, but then actually he's the one they capture and make him, and he becomes the Night King? Would you be disappointed?
Is that the theory? Is that what it is?
That's the theory, yeah.
Excuse everything. Like, I mean, we're not only getting into a theory here that may not exist, we're kind of digging down deeper into it. So how has time skewed itself to the point where future Bran is invading and charging on
Well, we've
current
seen
Bran and his people?
He can affect the past. There's always that problem with, where with Hodor, with calling to his younger dad at the Tower of Joy.
Yeah.
So he's seen, like, he can affect them, and now that he's even more powerful, like, can he walk somebody go back and hit, like, into the weirwood net, and then walk into somebody, some random man, and then he becomes the Night King, who is actually Brandon. He's trapped in the loop.
Ultimately, that becomes a very different thing. It completely changes the motive of what it is. So let's just carry this forward a little bit. Say the Night King is Bran Stark. Does that then clear up what his motivation is?
No, does it? Why is he intent on killing everybody?
Is he intent on stopping a charge from the south?
Well, the only thing is that by being,
is there going to be, what we know is...
In the books, the White Walkers they have their own language, and it sounds like ice breaking. So how are they going to sit down and meet? And apparently there's the Children of the Forest have been wiped out.
Yeah.
They're not around anymore. Now there might be some left. Yeah, there might be some left on the Isle of Faces, which is this island where there's a lot of weirwood trees, and that's where they live.
Okay.
But that's unknown. So I don't know. It's we'll find out. I hope
we certainly will. I find that
you have to deal with the Night King, because he just can't come down and be. Like, he's a problem in the sense of the story, of the plot, because if he's coming down the land and he's destroying everything in his path
with Viserion,
and whether he kills everybody or they kill him, they're gonna they're gonna have to explain why he's doing this and what it's about.
Unless they just go full Shaun of the Dead and they just don't explain it. It's like, there's zombies over there charging on us, and that's just the way it is.
I don't think Game of Thrones fans would settle for that, though.
Oh, they absolutely would not.
They've invested way too much.
There would be protests on the streets unless they clear this thing up.
This is the trouble. Once you start researching for this.
I know, but when you look at the last 2 seasons, since they've gone beyond the books, the writers and the showrunners, you wouldn't really trust them, would you? No. When you look at some of the plot holes of the last few seasons, you would say, this is some of the I love the show. I'm all about it. April 14th can't come soon enough for me. But like when you look at season 7, like unless it's explained, like why didn't the Night King kill Daenerys there, sitting on the dragon? He's standing up on when they go beyond the wall to bring back a White to prove to everybody that the White Walkers are real.
And Daenerys comes.
They're in the middle of the island. They're surrounded by Whites. Daenerys flies down. Everyone climbs on the dragon. The Night King picks up his spear, and he hits the flying dragon, the harder target. Why didn't he just hit Drogon, Daenerys, kill them all there and then? So, like, that's a huge, like...
The plot hole on this is a reason.
Exactly. So, that has to be explained.
You talk about trusting and like having trust in the writers. Like when it comes to actually having trust in what they're going to do with characters in terms of consistency, is there a danger that stuff just isn't going to make sense? That there is a flaw in a character that really just doesn't stay in line with what has happened previously to that character? Like people can use Arya overseas as a weird sort of season or two that she had.
Well, you would say like Tyrion in the last series in 7, he made a lot of bad mistakes. He was very on Tyrion. You know, he was very... Every plan he laid out, it went wrong. You know, he planned the attack on Castle Rock because he knew the entrance for the drainage. And when he got there, they'd moved... Everyone had vacated the city. There was no one... And then they lost their ships. Euron attacked their fleet.
You had laid out all of these things to us previously.
Also,
it's very interesting.
And if you even go beyond that, when Jorah returned to Dany, after him and Tyrion, after he brought Tyrion to Dany, Tyrion counsels Dany to send Jorah away. And also Daario Naharis, who is Daenerys' kind of concubine, but also ally, strong male character. He counselled Daenerys to lead Daario Naharis in Meereen, to rule in Meereen. So, and those things didn't add up to me. So, and there's been a lot of speculation online and leaks that Tyrion will betray Dany and Jon. And
for Cersei.
For Cersei.
Well, for himself.
Yeah, and for the Lannisters.
For Cersei's baby.
We think.
But yeah. Yeah, well, see, this is the thing. She said she's pregnant. In the trailer, she's drinking wine. And
wine?
Yeah, I just
do they have great medical science back in the Game of Thrones day?
When is this time? That's the thing. So you think it doesn't exist that time. I know it doesn't exist, but like we think it's a medieval land. But it's not. And there's a whole nother story, a whole nother question there of like they've got thousands of years of history, but they've never progressed into technological age. Like why?
Because they get knocked out every 1,000 years by White Walkers. It's like global warming, except it happens every 1,000 years.
That's the theory. I want to see a thesis on that.
So, well, going back to previous leaks, the season 7 script was basically leaked by this guy called Freaky Doctor. He's an online YouTuber from Spain.
I looked him up.
And he leaked season 7 prior to the season, and
is this the episode drop when all the episodes dropped?
That was before that. Okay. This was like this was after that. This is before season 7, and he leaked it, and everything that happened in his leak came through, except the final thing, which they may have saved for this season, which is Cersei having a miscarriage.
Ooh.
So if that does happen, that will change her motives hugely. Will she care about anything anymore? Will she fulfill? Will she become the Mad Queen?
She's the Mad Queen.
Yeah, I know. She blew up the set. I guess she is. She burnt them all.
That scene where she reveals to us that she's pregnant is when it's a desperate ploy to keep Jaime. That's what it looked like to me. It's like, come on.
And Tyrion, to get Tyrion.
And Jaime didn't buy it. Or if he did buy it, he just didn't care.
He just had, well, he's trying to make good on himself, and I don't know. Is he trying to please everybody?
He could well be. Like,
does he care too much what people think of him?
The line from Jaime in the trailer is, "I promise to fight for a living, and I intend to keep that promise." Like, what a character arc! This man has just got a heart of gold.
A hand of gold and a heart of gold. It's interesting you mentioned about the miscarriage there, because just reading back on the Maggie the Frog prophecy, which is one of the things, that and Old Nan are the two prophecies that, ice spiders, massive ice spiders of the undead is Old Nan's prophecy from season 1 that I want to see come through. But also Maggie the Frog's prophecy, her big thing was that you will have 3 children or however many children, and they will all die before you do. The miscarriage situation works there, or...
But she's already had 3.
Exactly.
And they're all dead.
Or it's fully true, and they're all dead, and she's lying about her pregnancy. Or the whole thing could be a load of bollocks, but I don't think it is.
Also, it says that your little brother will strangle you. So, is it going to be Jaime or will it be Tyrion? You know, so like prophecy is big.
Or is there? No, there's no other Lannister.
See, in season 1, it was a bit of a mistake. Like, no, I don't know if it's a mistake, but maybe she was lying. When Bran, in season 1, when Bran is in bed, he's in a coma, and Catelyn Stark is beside his bed, and she comes up and pays him. And it's kind of like a really human moment from Cersei, and she kind of says, you know, my first child died. He was a little brown-haired beauty. And there's a theory that is actually Gendry, because when Gendry describes his mother to Ned Stark later on in the series, he says she was a tavern wench, but she had blonde hair, and she would sing to me. And Cersei mentioned that she would sing to him, and so anyway, that's the whole nother.
It's Gendry versus Jaime versus Tyrion.
Well, is Gendry Gendry will be legitimised, I would say, at some stage during this season. He won't be a bastard anymore, because he's the last Baratheon. So
the last Baratheon or the heir to Cersei.
It did seem like a deliberate effort to get him back in the game as well. Like, why is Gendry back in front of us? We knew he would return at some point.
Davos has literally just placed him on the boat in my own timeline of when you're watching Game of Thrones back. So he's literally just hopped into the boat.
Well,
he doesn't know how to row. He doesn't know how to row.
You've got a long way to go.
Well, let's hold it,
Gendry.
Yeah, it's mad. So you've got that prophecy. If basically Cersei has a miscarriage and it happens early days, then I think it's a dead cert that she's getting strangled by one of her younger brothers, and then it may seem who that is. Now, I want to double back on the Tyrion thing, because we went down this rabbit hole when we started talking about Tyrion. We were talking about how there might be holes in what the showrunners are doing, unless, of course, they've been setting this up. The sort of weird behaviour of Tyrion Lannister is actually just their plan to tell us he is going to betray everyone that we believe to be good.
It was just that look when they go into the room, when Jon goes into the room on the boat, and you're left looking at Tyrion's face, and it's very look.
Jon and Daenerys.
Yeah. Like, is he happy? He's not. Like, it's so ambiguous. Is he happy about it, or is he sad about it? Like, apparently they've said that he's in love with Daenerys from early doors. And that wasn't always apparent to me. Was it? I don't know.
Well, just
I didn't find that either.
There's one I've tried to follow this up to see was there any evidence of this, and apparently a lot of people who are big into Game of Thrones and to forums will well know this. But if you haven't seen this, in season 6, before they go to Marine, one of the leaked scripts actually reads this as one of the directions. So with regards to Tyrion looking at Daenerys, they say he studies her face. Dany is staring into the distance, so Tyrion is able to watch her from up close. God damn, but she is beautiful. He watches her for a beat too long and turns away, lost in her own thoughts. She doesn't notice that he's flustered. That suggests to me this is the television show that whatever they've got planned, they want to try and create some sort of situation where Peter Dinklage is trying to characterise himself as somebody who loves who he's looking at.
Also, his motive would be, because before she flies away in season 7 to go rescue Jon and the others beyond the wall, he kind of asks her about succession. What happens if she dies? And she refused to answer it. And she is impulsive, Daenerys. You know, she burnt the Tarleys pretty much on a whim, yeah. And she's been shown to, you know, to be impulsive, and she has the power because she controls dragons. So maybe he's afraid of her in that sense, that if she does come into power, that she'll be too powerful, and that the realm would be better off with a democracy, because he's kind of hinted at that. That's the way forward, that they should vote or cast votes, or that everyone should rule their own small kingdom, you know, their own state.
And like, Tyrion is the Joe Schmidt of Game of Thrones. Like, he's playing a longer game than anyone there. He's always playing the long game. He's always plotting ahead for the Rugby World Cup. Never mind the Six Nations. But he is. He's always been the one that's 5 or 6 steps ahead.
Let's just end this podcast right now.
He's not in love with her. He's not in love with her.
There are a couple of other things we kind of wanted to touch on. One of those, and you've already mentioned it, and I just want to get into this in a little bit more depth before you wrap up, is the Freaky Doctor script. So this is a guy basically on YouTube. He speaks in Spanish.
He lives in Seville, and that's where a lot of it's shot. He leaked. Apparently, he'd seen, or had evidence of Tyrion is going to be on trial. It's going to be at the Dragon Pit. And what was interesting was that Dany and Jon were there, Gendry was there, Bran was there, but not all of the major players. So maybe this is after the whole thing is, and maybe this is the final episode when they're just kind of like, how do you see it? Let's go. I know that we're getting into the leaks and maybe we're going off script or off point, but like the structure of this season, like they're going to have to dig up the enough. So obviously in the first 2 or 3 episodes, well, see, Miguel Sapochnik, the director who done Battle of the Bastards and Hard Home, he's down to direct episode 3. So we're thinking that's going to be the big battle at Winterfell between the White Walkers. And whether that's resolved there, or whether the White Walkers make it past Winterfell, and then they have to flee, the main characters have to flee, and then take refuge in King's Landing. And then they kind of
get ready for a final
talk
siege.
to Cersei or deal with Cersei then and then. Then like, it's interesting how it's going to play out, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
But to get back to Freaky Doctor, yeah. So he leaked that Tyrion, there'll be a trial scene with Tyrion where he's on trial. That was a long time ago, but recently he was teasing this leak, and he released a YouTube video, and it's since been banned by HBO, so that kind of gives it more credence, you know.
Yeah. Yes, so HBO actually have form in this. I know that I was listening to a Ringer podcast recently, and they were saying that they made a prediction around season 7 or season 6, and their prediction was so close to the bone. Actually, sorry, it wasn't for their podcast, it was for the HBO show they did. And HBO editors were like, we actually have to cut out this prediction because you're bang on the money. This is going to happen. So that to me is a red flag.
If they had read Freaky Doctor's leaks, then they could have just written the whole thing themselves, you know. So now he's saying in this leak, it's not actually a script, it's just points in this thing, and I think we've all read it at this stage, have we?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
That they'll arrive at Winterfell.
Trying to avoid it.
Dany and Jon, the Dothraki, which we've seen in the trailer, and the Unsullied, and then Tyrion, Varys are in a separate kind of carriage. They're talking about that Daenerys is going to have to tell Sam about his parents, that his father and brother got burned, and eventually she'll do that. And he's not too upset about his dad, but he is upset about his brother. There's also a discussion between Sam and Bran about revealing Jon's parentage to him, and then within the leak, it's left to Sam to tell Jon, and Jon is down in the crypts, and he tells him down in the crypts that he's dead and
who he is.
Yeah, and I think Jon's reaction is he kind of rejects it at the start.
Very interesting. The dead cert is, if this comes true, how is Tyrion going to actually be put on trial? And it's going to be trial by combat again. Like, who is going to...
maybe that will lead to a game ball.
Yes.
Maybe that'll be, because if he does work with Cersei and she's still alive, or Robert Strong, or whatever his name is now, the Mountain, the Mountain.
The Mountain, yeah.
Whether he's still alive, is he still alive now? Who knows? But like, maybe he'll choose the Mountain, and then they'll choose the Hound. The Hound will step up. Because that was foreshadowed in season 7.
For sure.
Yeah.
His character graph has been on the verge of doing that the whole way through.
The Hound.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about overcoming his fear, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah.
The Hound and Arya's
those were some of the best scenes, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they're going to reunite at some point soon. In episode 1, actually, according to that Freaky Doctor script.
Yeah, so...
Because he's with Brienne. The Hound was with Brienne at the minute.
I think that'll be a nice moment for all of us viewers. The first episode of all the reunions. You know, the Hound, Brienne and Tormund, see what's going on there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Brienne and Jaime, if Jaime turns up in the first or second, you know, there's some, and obviously, Jaime and Bran, what's that going to be? Like, you know, is Bran just going to be completely weird the way he has been and just accept it all and say,
shrug his shoulders.
Without you doing what you did, I wouldn't be who I am now? Or will he blame Jaime, you know, will he have resentment there?
The thing, and a kind of the final point to finish up on, is when are we going to see the first big twist? So, and I think from what we're talking about here, the first big twist is going to be Tyrion betraying everybody.
Yeah, but that could be somewhere down the line. Yeah. You know, if he's in the north.
But if the trial law would be for the betrayal. And
that could be maybe like episode 4, episode 5. You know, but...
And they're filming it in Seville.
Yeah. That's King's Landing. So that's King's Landing.
They'll have had episode 3 will be the battle. They'll have had
the only thing, like, why he has to serve them now, because he physically is in the north and the White Walkers are on the way.
Right.
So it's in his interest to win that battle anyway before he can get down to Cersei and do whatever he has to do, because self-preservation first and foremost, I'm sure.
And at what point does the snow hit King's Landing? At what point is Seville a pointless location for King's Landing?
I know. Well, it's snowing. We saw the first flakes of snow fall, didn't we? In the last episodes as Jamie rode away. It will be interesting to see that. There were some leaked photographs of the King's Landing set, and it was completely burned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And destroyed.
So there's wildfire left.
Yeah. Oh, Dragonfire.
Or Dragonfire.
Maybe the Night King makes it down, or Daenerys comes down with her dragon.
Yeah.
What do we call Viserion? Like, what kind of fire does Viserion have? Ice fire.
Ice fire.
Ice fire.
Blue fire.
Yeah, it was a blue flame.
Blue flame.
Hot gas.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't ice fire because it melted the wall.
Yeah.
Unless it was like extremely cold and it just
What do we call it? Yeah, okay, we call it.
We need to come up with some sort of I don't know. Blue steel.
Thermodynamics.
Steel. Blue steel does the job.
Who are you rooting for?
I don't know.
I'm rooting for Jon, and I'll tell you why. It's because I want to be disappointed. I want to feel what I felt in the Red Wedding, which is the final vestiges of pain that Game of Thrones can bring you, and I just know that Jon Snow followers are going to get it in the gut. It's going to be...
You're rooting for Jon to get killed, or to make sit the throne?
I want to root for him so that I can feel the pain of it being ripped away from me again.
Okay.
Do you personally still care that much about Jon Snow? Because I don't.
I'm going to have to get myself up to actually care about him, because I really think that ultimately...
Being a masochist kind of a thing, you just want to hurt.
It's kind of a curiosity, Andy. It's a curiosity. Okay, on a serious note, I think he's screwed. I think Jon Snow is screwed.
I think Jon's going to make it. I think Daenerys is screwed. I think she's going to die.
Do you?
Yeah. I think she might be pregnant at the moment, or will become pregnant, and then she'll have to... I think she'll make a choice, even though she's always wanted to sit down in front. That's her birthright. That's what she's doing since she was a slave. You know, since she was a slave, since she was nothing, to get to the Iron Throne. But I don't think she'll actually get there. I think she'll sacrifice herself, maybe, and her dragons, to save Jon and maybe her baby. And Jon, I'm not sure if he'll sit the Iron Throne if he's suited to it. But I think he'll make it out in the end. I don't know. I think Sansa's probably got the best chance of winning.
Yeah, I think Sansa.
You're rooting for her?
I just have a feeling that...
I'm not necessarily rooting for her, I just think that's probably...
I think she's going to be left there. I just think that
she's one to watch. I think
full circle, it's going to come back around. And Sansa Stark is going to be the one.
She's always wanted to be the queen. She's like
Cersei when she was a kid. Like, do you know that flashback to Cersei with the prophecy at the start of season 5? Like, Cersei is so sure she's going to, but I'm still going to be the queen.
The Maggie the Frog prophecy.
Maggie the Frog. And like, at the start, at the very, very first few episodes, when you're listening to Sansa, you're like, oh, come on. She just wants to meet Joffrey. She wants to go to King's Landing. It's her dream to do all this. And she's done it all. And it's going to come full circle. I think we're going to get the full Game of Thrones treatment on it.
What happens? What was the turning point in Sansa early on?
Go on.
It was her direwolf getting executed. That was the moment it changed for Sansa Stark. Now, I've read a very good theory. This is not my theory. I won't take credit for this. On Reddit somewhere. I'm sorry for not crediting. It was that ultimately, what was the direwolf's reason for dying? It was actually in place of another wolf, right? It was in the... yeah, exactly. That should not have happened to that thing. That was a sense of injustice. Is there a chance that will become personified in whatever Sansa Stark's character graph is? Will somebody else suffer because of something she's done, or vice versa? Because we've seen the mirror image of the direwolf's behaviour or their consequences, or the things that they've suffered or things that they've enjoyed, as a mirror image to the actual characters of the people that own them. I'd be very interested in seeing that sort of mirror image and how that develops. I think that has still... It's not too loose an end, but it can still be knotted up a little more tightly.
Then the only fear is you have 6 episodes. You know, there's a lot of loose ends to tie up. You know, and I think there was no reason why they couldn't have done 10 last season and 10 this season. Yeah. They were like, everyone would have been happy.
No, they
have compensated that they don't, like, I think the first couple of episodes are like 54 minutes long, but then they bump up to 80 minutes long towards the end of the season. So
there isn't going to be a moment to catch your breath. It's going to be boom, boom, boom. Everything is going to matter, unless, or else it just becomes like Lost, and like it's like, wait a minute, there's like 20 minutes left in this last episode and nothing's being tied up. I hope that's not the case.
If you miss anything, we'll be analysing it here every week, won't we?
We'll have good stuff.
We're going to be back again next week for episode 2 of Off the Ball, brought to you by Discover Northern Ireland. We're going to have a big massive chart around here over my shoulder where we're going to have little heads of all the characters all around Westeros, and we're going to be predicting if they're going to live or if they're going to die. Season 8 is just around the corner, and we're going to be live every single week after every single episode of Game of Thrones. We'll see you next week on Off the Wall.